Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Malikicowtipper, going to bring you a late night cast of StarCraft 2, and today my opponent is Megaslaya. So let's see just how mega this guy's slaying is. Yep, here we go, this is the right one. And I played this game a couple days ago. Normally I like to cast these games pretty much right after I play them, so they're fresh in my mind. And I just really didn't have an opportunity to. Kind of awesome. I just got back from the theater and saw Prometheus, and I have to say that after having had about an hour and a half, 2 hours to analyze the movie, really very, very impressed with Ridley Scott's work. I really like what he did. You can see that we're both wishing each other good luck in this game. Oh, it's so good-mannered before we go and try to tear each other's faces off. So, Malikicowtipper is spawning as... am spawning as the Blue Zerg. Again, this is a late night cast, and I'm running this off of Mountain Dew because I'm not quite ready to go to bed yet. But I'm spawning as the Blue Zerg in the lower right-hand corner of Entomb Valley, and Megaslaya is spawning as the Red Terran in the upper right-hand corner. So this is kind of interesting because it makes some of these bases that you would normally want to take, particularly as we both, go out towards our naturals. We're expanding towards each other, which is actually really interesting. So as games in this map go on, you actually see that you have to expand further away from your opponent. And that's kind of nice because your bases are further away, and really in a case like this, it really all kind of comes down to map control and what you decide to do with it. And as a Zerg player, it's very, very beneficial to have all the information that you absolutely can on your Terran. In particular, you want to fight the battles on your own terms. You never want to engage a Terran on their terms, because typically that means that even if they're on the offensive, they're still in some way going to try to be defensive against you, which is just kind of how Terran work. And as we can see right here, I'm being rather annoying as far as this is concerned. I am denying him the ability to build that barracks that he so desperately wants to build as I've been attacking these drones. And if we check this out, this is kind of interesting. He has not built a barracks yet, and I'm not sure if that's because he's waiting to go early command center or not, but it's definitely kind of got me wondering, what's this guy going on? Where are these racks secretly being hidden? So we check this out. I'm probably going to go for a pool first on this build, and, he's just more or less trying to keep my drone at bay, and I almost have one of his SCVs done, which is pretty cool. And if we check this out, he's up to 500 money right now, so I'm not quite sure if he's too busy microing me, trying to kill this drone for his own good. But as we can see right here, he's trying to take a fast command center. And what's interesting about this is I am taking a fast expand because I haven't seen a barracks go down yet, and he's finally just starting it right now. And when I realize that he's doing this and he's just getting his barracks down, I'm going to feel extremely good about, realistically, whatever play I make, because my pool's already down, and I have my first expansion over halfway done, and his barracks hasn't even completed yet. And if we take a look at this, he hasn't taken a gas either, so this tells me that, any type of play for, fast Hellions, Banshees, anything like that, is just going to be so delayed that if I'm not ready for it, I really am kind of a fool for not being prepared for the attack that he's going to bring on me. And realistically at this point, I believe I was thinking, take a fast third base. There's nothing he can do to stop you about it. Let's just be one of those kind of greedy Zerg guys. And you know what, you guys, I'm sorry about not having that up again. Kind of a late night game, but I really hope that you enjoy this. This is actually a fun game. It's all kind of starting to come back to me right now, and I've actually found a fairly interesting, tech tree or path to go that's been getting me a lot of wins against Terran lately. And I'm not sure if it works, well past Gold League, but it's been working extremely well in Gold League, and it's definitely in more of a macro play style. There's actually a ZvP game that I would love to bring up to YouTube, and I think I will. It's a nice little short 9-minute game. Look at these Zerglings go. They're so cool, just kind of hopping around. And I tried a strategy that I saw off of, I believe it was on TGN StarCraft, and it was kind of cool, where the Zerg player went for fast Hydralisks off a 2-base and ended up getting a Nihilus Swarm pretty much right in front of the Protoss base, and applied so much pressure through Hydras and a few Lings that he forced a GG out of the Protoss in about 9 minutes. And I tried it, and I was able to do almost the exact same thing. And it just felt really good to be able to, kind of take the offensive to the Protoss early on and do a timing attack of my own. Now, I overproduced quite a few Lings here, and my reason for producing these Lings was a couple things. I want to slow down this command center. I want to keep it up here as long as possible and force him to build a lot of Marines early in the game. And as far as that's concerned, I'm sure that between my 2 bases and my minerals, I won't have a problem dealing with a lot of Marines just with some good speedling usage. But we can see here that this is a lot of time where he's just on one base, and realistically, he doesn't even have a good amount of harvesters to transfer down to that base once he moves it. And I'm spreading out my lings here because I'm also afraid that this command center is going to have flown off and be put someplace else. I believe I'm even going to move this Overlord very soon over to this part to make sure that he didn't take and expand and build a planetary fortress there and just, you know, really be a pain in my ass. And as we can see, I'm taking the third hatchery here, and I'm going to start to try to break it down with these 4 Zerglings, but they're just going to take forever. And he's going to get ready to start to fly down that orbital command. He's going to rush down a few Marines. Had I kept, you know, all these Zerglings over here, I could actually probably clean these Marines up. But he's actually going to do a good job microing that Marine away, and I'm going to lose all 3 of my Zerglings, and he's going to be able to establish his second base. If we check out the income tab right here, I'm up 31 to 26 harvesters, not the biggest lead, but if we go back to the production tab, what I realistically should be doing is not producing that many Zerglings, but I should just be hitting the drones heavy. We can see now he's going to start to get some tech, and he's going to kind of try to wall this off and hold off this base and get established on 2 base. But this is normally where the Terran wants to be at maybe 5-6 minutes into the game, not 8 minutes into the game, so just by him wanting to build that and hide his tech, and by me having a little bit of map control with those lings, I was easily able to stop pretty much any shenanigans that he wanted to put down. And these speedlings, if they can get in before this bunker finishes, that would be absolutely fantastic. And we can see that my Zergling's going to clean up quite a few of these Marines. He's going to manage to sneak a few of them in there, but I have enough Zerglings here where it's really not going to be too difficult to actually clean this up. And this is not going to be very good for him at all, because he's going to lose map control over this part of his base, and all these mules are going down. That's a lot of wasted energy. There's a lot of wasted workers, and the only thing he can do at this point is wall off his base and let me just rake in all the free kills. And right here, I am going to try to sneak up and see if he hasn't done that. You know, beggars can't be choosers, and I'm just going to poke away at the orbital command, and I'll see what I can do before he finally decides that's a good idea to lift it off. And this entire time, you can see that I'm dropping some tech and droning up behind this, so this is all time that my economy is just kind of getting awesome. And we can see that he's now getting a factory out, he's producing siege tanks, and it just isn't worth, you know, whatever potential losses I might take by trying to brute force my way into this. If I had a few banglings, I might be able to hit this wall and then blow it up, and we'll kind of see what I decide to do as far as that goes. We check out the income tab right here, we can see I'm up 42 to 27, so my economy is definitely kind of kicking itself into high gear, but I need to keep droning. Realistically, as a Zerg at this point in the game, you can see I'm just building a lot of drones. The easiest way to let a win that you've established with some early map control and forcing your Terran to not expand is to not get a good economy and just watch your base be overrun by a bunch of these little assholes with a few Marauders and a few tanks, because the Terran can do that off of one base. And if you don't get that economy running, like if you continue to try to push into it, eventually you're going to see that you're losing more than he is with these attacks. And right here, between the Hellion and all these Marines, he's not going to have any issues whatsoever cleaning it up, so I need to get out of there. I need to pull these Overlords out of there before I lose those guys and give him more free kills. And see, this one hero Ling will bravely stand his ground and not allow the base to sit back down. I'm not quite sure why he hasn't killed that Ling yet. It's just so silly. And now that he has Hellions out, I expect him to try to push out with those and try to do something with them. If you go back to the production tab right here, you can see that I'm not really doing anything about the Hellions. I'm getting Zerg melee attack 1 and Zerg ground attack level 1 now. When I first started, you know, playing StarCraft again and going up against Terran, I'd gone for a very Roach Infestor heavy build, but it's possibly more me than anything, but I found that my Infestor control is not necessarily good enough to warrant building more than a couple Infestors. And Fungals are very nice, Infested Terran are nice, but I find that sometimes the Terran just rafflecopters your army, and at that point you have Infestors, but they can't really do anything. You only need a few Fungal growths to stop the Marines and to get the extra DPS on them. And as far as Roaches are concerned, Siege Tanks, Thors, everything just seems to do extremely well against those units as well. So Zerglings with upgrades, particularly once you get Hive Tech and you get Adrenal Gland with a few Banglings mixed in, it seems to be a very, very potent mix early game. You can do a lot with Zerglings, especially if you have map control and you're not too afraid of air, and we can see that right now. I'm actually quite fearful of drop play. It's something that a lot of Terran will turn to when they find that they're a little bit behind in the game, and it's just so easy to send a few drop ships into each base, especially if you do it at the same time while you're doing a frontal attack, and yeah, you win the frontal battle, but then you realize, cool, I have no drones, I have no tech. You know, sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other, sometimes it's both. And at that point, the Terran just came from behind and rafflecoptered your base. I mean, I cannot describe how awful that feels. And we can see that we have missile turrets going up because he's probably pretty fearful of mutas at this point. Mutas would, you know, kind of continue the harassing cycle that I've more or less been doing, but I'm transitioning more into regular mid-game. And right here we can see, here comes the dropship, and the dropship's going to be kind of scared away by my spore crawlers. We can see I have a lot of lings, and you really need your lings there to deal with it right off the bat. We can see the spore crawler and the spines, just a very, very good deterrent, and realistically, I think he knows that there's just not much that this drop can do. It's more or less going to be wasted units at this point, and that he's going to pull back. My Overlord over here is going to give me some decent vision. We can see that I'm starting to spread creep. I've got this Queen out here doing that, and I'm taking a 4th base. So at this point, I'm really actually very confident that he has not expanded yet, just because he doesn't feel like he has the map control. We can see that he's turtling here very heavily. Got a decent wall-off going there. A few banglings can make short work of that, but a couple siege tanks make short work of banglings, and we can see that he's just now getting his quad gas up and running, and he is building another command center, probably hoping to fly it over there, but I'll see it as soon as that happens with these lings. And I probably should have sent an Overlord over here and had a ling over here, but I figured he would take these expands before he would go to those. It's just a more logical conclusion, especially with how easy it is for Zerg to harass expansions. But we can see that I'm now getting ground level armor 2 and attack 2, Neuroparasite building a bunch of infestors, and getting a spire down. And what you're going to notice is that I have my hive tech up. I have not got adrenal glands yet, and that's more or less just out of, you know, pure carelessness on my part. I have plenty of money to do it, but the ultimate tech goal for me in this game is to get up to broodlords. And the reason why I've been teching the broodlords is I find they do extremely well against these sieged up Terran armies, and a Terran can go ahead and build himself a lot of Vikings to deal with that, but corruptors seem, you know, a few corruptors and mutas seem to be able to do pretty decent against those. And then you have your broodlords back now, you have your banglings and some zerglings up here, and as you start to rain down, if he pushes out with marines, just boom, attack, and you're good to go, because he's running into you, and he might not necessarily be expecting that. Mix in a few roaches just to tank some damage, and you're good to go. And you can see that one of the most important things for me doing right now is just to get this gas up and running. I'm going to need a lot of gas for this build to be effective. Broodlords are a very, very expensive unit, and you can see I have Overlord speed. I really should have an Overlord here, because this would just be such a great place to put up, you know, I completely forgot what I was talking about. Sorry, late night cast. That'd be an awesome place to put up the planetary fortress and build a few missile turrets around it, because then at that point I'm almost obligated to attack it. We can see that he does have a Hellion here, but that Hellion is short-lived, as these 3 Zerglings, you know, they have a Vendetta. And if we take a look at this, his vehicles really do not have a lot of extra armor to them, and my Zerglings are very soon going to be 2-2. And we check out the income tab right here, 83 to 42. For the harvester account, so we can see that my economy is just rocking and rolling. I cannot spend my money quick enough, and I probably have about 10 too many harvesters realistically, but right now I'm going to see that this army is moving out, and this is the kind of thing where even though I have a good food lead, you know, it's still very easy to lose to this type of army, especially when you consider that, you know, out of that 40 food lead that I have, 40 of those are harvesters, so my army is actually quite small when it comes down to it. And the biggest thing is going to be landing good hits with my banglings, and I'm going to try to engage this army, and we can see right here that he's doing a great job effectively kiting my banglings, and that attack almost did absolutely nothing. I killed a few tanks, but the ball of marines, you know, just this great machine is coming straight towards my base, and at this point, food count is up. Yes, and this queen valiantly sacrificing her life. I'm morphing in 5 broodlords here, and I just desperately need to hold off this attack, but I'm able to get off a really good surround with those zerglings, drop a fungal growth, and that's going to be the extra DPS that I need to kind of help clean this up. These tanks are sieged up back here waiting for reinforcements, and right now, this is just going to be more or less easy pickings for me to kind of take the rest of this down. These mutas are going to do a lot of damage to the tanks, and just rushing some zerglings, and oh, I probably could have engaged there, but right now, I'm just waiting for my broodlords to come out, and oh, brood lanes, so cool. Oh my god, tanks shooting down their own marines. That sucks. Go over to the production tab, 10 more Zerglings, and we can see that I came out of that battle. All things very, very good. And that's because I had a lot of money stored, I had a lot of larvae stored, and it was just very, very easy for me to reproduce. God, I need adrenal glands really, really bad right now. I also need 3-3 attack, and the Terran is going to be forced back into his turtle. If we take a look at this, all he's done at this planetary fortress is realistically drop mules. And to this point, it's still very possible for me to lose this game. The thing is, when you're attacking into this, you have to be very careful. It's so easy to lose your Zerg army, and if you don't have the larvae and you don't have the money to rebuild it, you can just find yourself in a world of hurt. And now we see I have my tier 3 upgrades going down. I should be expanding at like 2 more bases just to burn some of that money and get more gas and start to migrate these workers. But if we take a look at this, the game's only at its 20-minute mark, and I still have a little bit of mining left to do here. Some of these fields are about to run dry. Ground, starting to get some flyer attack would really be good. And I'm actually now building a second macro hatchery because during that battle I did find that I was, lower on larva than I would like to be. And I figure, you know what, why not? I have the money, I might as well lay it down. That way that's just extra larva that I have. I mean, you can almost never have too many hatcheries. Maybe you can, just because at some point you will be throwing away money. You can see I've got decent creep spread. He did actually kill quite a bit of the creep as he was coming in, but again, that always slows down a Terran. So even if they kill your creep, don't necessarily despair, because that's time that they're taking, killing that, not attacking you, and giving you time to, that extra crucial seconds to get that army up and running. If we take a look at this, I maxed 200 out of 200, so I'm going to have to do something. My Ball of Death is actually quite awesome right now. I've got a few Corruptors, a few Mutas, which is kind of my anti-air, and I just have so many Zerglings. I mean, I've got, check out the unit tab. Right here you can see 52 Zerglings, 4 Mutas, 7 Broodlords, 14 Roaches, 17 Banglings, and 1 Infestor. I mean, this is just kind of a crazy, little bit of everything mixed over, but I tend to do best with these type of Zerg armies because lots of Zerglings, they're food for everything else. They can take a lot of they can actually take a lot of damage when there's so many of them there. The Broodlords are kind of the real heavy hitters of this pack. The Roaches are the tanks. The Infestor are good for, oh, come on, can we get the I want to try to get a fungal growth on these guys, and then they'll just be very, very easy pickings, just because they actually do quite good against most Zerg units, particularly against Corruptors. I guess they actually do 24 damage. Corruptors are kind of nice because they spawn with 2 armor and 200 health, so that's really boss, actually. If we check this out, my Broodlords are going to come in here and start doing work on them, and my Mutas are in here, and realistically, not a good place to have the ground army engaged, but right here, this is where I can just easily rush up, drop in a few Banglings, and again, just kind of destroy that army. And between the fungal growth, a few infested Terran, and my leftover Mutas and Corruptors, cleaning up his air force is really not going to be too much of an issue. Now, these 4 tanks here are just going to be having a heyday with my Zerg ground army. And what I decide is a better idea is to send my ground army at this planetary fortress. That's really smart, actually. Planetary fortresses definitely do not, as you can see, do well against ground armies at all. And actually, he's going to be able to clean up a better part of this army right here. And right now I'm just kind of dying. He actually really needs to repair that. I should just try to make a suicide run and kill that, but at this point he was able to stop my attack, and we can see that I'm reinforcing back over here. I have almost 100 food count lead over him, but right here this is kind of a dangerous position to be in because I'm attacking into this planetary fortress, and I'm trying to fight his ground army. He still has siege tanks sieged up here. His Marines getting free kills, and everything that I'm sending in reinforcing is just more or less being slaughtered. I'm throwing away money right here. We can see that the Terran is actually just not able to spend his production quick enough. We check out the units that we're producing right here. He's producing 8 Marines at a time. I mean, he could use like 15 barracks right now, and he might be able to hold this off. But as we can see, I'm going to pull back just a little bit. I'm going to stay outside of his base. And realistically right here, I'm a little fearful because that attack, even though I'm maxed food, almost instantly after it, it still, took a lot out of it. But I'm confident that he hasn't expanded, and this is just kind of about breaking the Terran defense right here. And the one thing to keep in mind is you can always still lose these games. I mean, I've been ahead of the Terran, for almost the entire game right here, but it's still very well within my possibility to lose this if I let my macros slip or anything else. But as far as that's concerned, that's more or less having a healthy respect for your enemy and not taking the game, too lightly. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to morph in a bunch of Broodlords, get a few, have some Corruptors, and actually my food count's maxed, and I'm just going to send these Lings in straight up to die and, kind of see what they can see. And actually, these Lings being cracklings and tanks firing down on each other, that was a fairly decent exchange, able to take out 2 tanks for that small group of Lings, and that's going to allow me to morph in 5 more Broodlords and just be awesome. I have 8 Infestors coming down, which, realistically, to that end, I did not need 8 Infestors. That was a big waste of food, and I actually get why he was asking what just happened right there. He was probably wondering why his tanks died to that, but it's because his tanks actually were shooting 55, damage worth of awesomeness onto each other, and Cracklings are just so cool. I mean, 8 damage, and they attack, at 0.59 seconds. They are just so awesome. They deal so much damage. And at this point, you can see that I'm remaxed. He has a decent defense going. He's mined out at his main, and he has a decent amount left at his natural, maybe like around 1,000 minerals left there. But expanding for him is just going to be very, very difficult at this point in the game. And we can see that he actually has a medevac going, and he's probably planning to see if I've done any type of ninja expansion over here and do a drop play on that. But I'm nearly ready to kind of put the sinews of death onto my opponent. I'm going to bring in the bombardment. We can see that he has almost no air force whatsoever. A few Vikings, but nothing to really be too worried about. It take a long time to kill Brood Lords anyway. And right here, I'm going to send in the mutas, going to clean up some of these Vikings. You can see the Marines are actually going to make short work of my mutas, but I have Zerglings coming in, fungal growth dropping down, and I need to be dropping Infested Terran because all these Infestors are just getting absolutely murdered. And this is what I mean. This is just poor Infestor control. Right here, Zerg is just OP. I don't think so. That's a lie. And Megaslaya has left the game. So, to kind of address that, God, Corruptors are just kind of neat. I don't necessarily see how Zerg is OP at all. I mean, this game was under fairly good control the entire time, and it can go either way. I mean, in his attempt to hide his tech and to slow, and to do that fast expand, I was able to gain map control. And realistically, I had map control the entire game. I was pretty much one step ahead of him in my tech, and at the point where it came down to it, when you have to start attacking into your Terran, as long as you can make sure that you can rebuild that army and keep him locked up in his base so he can't expand, that's what counts. A Terran, if they need to, they can basically jump from one base to one base, and between workers and mules, they can get enough minerals to fuel a very efficient army that's good at cleaning up Zerg or just about anything like that. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this game. I definitely enjoyed playing it, and I hope to bring more just like this to you in the future. This is Malikicowtipper signing out.